Hi everyone, this is a video on a Zyxel mesh wireless point WX5600-T0 dual band wireless AX6000 gigabit extender. The box is surprisingly tiny, and actually the device, going by the photos on the internet, is also surprisingly tiny. Nice that they don't use plastic anymore. The stuff I've seen recently, they've replaced the plastic which protected the device with a sheet of brown paper, which is quite cool. There's the front of the wireless mesh device. We've got 4 lights on it. We've got a power light, a signal light, presumably a WPS or equivalent light, and a Wi-Fi light. I'm going to assume that those two at the bottom probably go solid if it's linked up to one of its friends or its mesh nodes. On the side of the device you've got quite good ventilation on the sides, and on the top of the device you've also got equivalent amount of ventilation on those sides as well. On the back of the device I'm going to have to hide the QR code and Wi-Fi name and password, which is on there by default. We've got 2 earthed or shielded connected Cat5 or Cat6 or whatever Ethernet sockets, which is unusual, high-end build. Reset button, which is just below and left of the power socket, power button, and a WPS button. More ventilation also on the back as well there. Underside we've got the mount point, so the mounting should be within this. So for the UK version we've got a European adapter and a British adapter, still using plastic for those. That goes onto the power brick or wall wart or power supply or whatever. Output is 12 volts at 1.5 amps. Comes with a flat Ethernet cable and the stand. Am I going to have to read the manual on how to do that? Probably good to have the manual in the video anyway. So it says you put it straight down onto the stand. Didn't really seem to be the way that it worked out for me just then. Maybe. Doesn't seem to have clipped in at the back there though. Or maybe it has. Didn't make a clipping sound, but it's definitely securely in there. A bit wobbly on its stand. So I'm holding the stand down at the back here, and it's a little weeble wobbly. To me, that seems like a very loose fitment. It really is going to be fine if it's sitting on a table, no one's ever going to notice, but still, it seems just a little bit strange. I think the tolerance of that plastic doesn't really fit snugly into where this hole is, so the whole thing's just a bit wobbly, but yeah, won't affect the functionality of a wireless repeater. Just makes it feel a little bit cheap, which this device is not super cheap, not in the realm of say BT Whole Homes. Here's the rest of the manual. It basically says turn it on and wait until the power LED is a solid green, and then plug it into your Zyxel MPro mesh router. It does have another function which is using a non-MPro mesh router, where you've got your non-Zyxel router, for example a BT hub or a Sky router or something, you plug that into the back of the Sky router, the first point, then you have a second point, and then you can have your mesh network through the Zyxel, because the first point is always plugged into the main router and is acting like the Master MPro mesh. There's the power light instructions as to what that does. And if you do need to read this, just pause the video. Let's go back to the wording on this other side. And let's see what's on the further bits. On the back page, and then there's some QR codes to download the apps and to see what compatible devices they have. Now it's time to plug it in. Power goes in the back there, and it started up. The Ethernet light over there did a brief blink, and the power light has gone solid green and has now started flashing. Bearing in mind the instructions say to plug it in and then wait until the power LED turns solid green. Power's gone solid green. What I now need to do is turn on my other Zyxel router which supports MPro meshing, and then I'll go through that with you. We are connected only via a network cable at the moment to this router here, which is a model number I've forgotten. It is an Zyxel MPro-T0. Also there's a -T1 variant as well, which supposedly is compatible with this wireless mesh device that we have here. I've logged into the admin interface, and when you go to the connectivity tab, we see the topology. There's just two devices. This will be the laptop I'm filming on, and this is a test laptop that I'll be using for performance testing. And then over here we've got the Zyxel router itself. If I go over to list, it's just got those two devices. Going back to the main screen, and then network settings, wireless, and mesh. Mesh is switched on. We don't really get much else. After I left this on for a few more seconds when I stopped the video earlier, the wireless, or the little fins symbol, came on opposite the power light. I have got no further than that. The instructions say that all I should need to do now is to plug a network cable between this router and the mesh device for it to be adopted or set up. Also, this is not yet transmitting something that a network name that I can see, so I'm using a Wi-Fi analyzer and I can't see any network being transmitted by this, even the name or the details which are on the back of that mesh box. So let's plug in a router, plug in a network cable and see what happens. The back of it, I'm going to go into LAN 1. Try and run the cable, which is difficult in this room, which really does not have much spare space because it's full of old computers and boxes of things. So that's plugged in, and let's see what the lights do. Bearing in mind that the instructions say in this scenario you have a router which supports MPro mesh, which I should do. It says number 1, plug it in. Wait for this light to go on, it looks like. and then you can unplug the device and move it to wherever you want. But so far that light does not look like it's doing anything, and if I go into the status page for connectivity, it does actually show that device with the correct logo. Oh, and the power light has started flashing, and that light has gone on solid. So that's been provisioned, just takes quite a while. I wasn't counting how long it took, but I'll edit the video to have how long it took to adopt that into it. So I would hope now that if I look at my wireless analyzer, that I will now see two things transmitting the Zyxel Wi-Fi name, which I don't yet. And interestingly, I do see one which is transmitting the name from the back of the mesh device, which is not what I would expect. I would expect that to be adopting the name of my main point over here, but maybe I misunderstand how this is supposed to work. And it's changed. Oh, brilliant. Okay, it just took a while to update the name. So I now see two different things transmitting my SSID or wireless name from this router. Right now, doing a speed test through the main access point here, I am getting about 950 megabits per second down and 880 upload. And I'm going to have to figure out how to force it to connect to the mesh device, which might have to be a very long network cable so I get out of range of this one. Interestingly, that light's gone off, and so it's almost like that's just rebooted or something. I didn't notice because I was looking at the laptop doing speed test, but right now I'd say that looks like it's not functioning. And on my wireless analyzer I also do not see both the networks, so I can only assume that that's needed to reboot, or it's done an automatic update and just rebooted. So I'm going to try switching off the wireless on the main point, so it will force my laptop to go over to the mesh node. The mesh node at this moment in time is plugged in with a network cable, so I'd hope I'd see similar performance out of this that I do from over here. That's frustratingly wobbly, that stand. That's sad. So I'm redoing the speed test, and if anything I'm getting marginally quicker through the mesh wireless point. I'm definitely getting quicker on the upload on that. So I shall perform that test again. Yep, a gigabit on the download, and definitely above the 880 or whatever that I was getting on the upload, again 908. So this, at least with my laptop, with Wi-Fi 6, performs better than the router itself. Let's turn wireless back on the router and then test the wireless repeating performance of the mesh node. Quite often on these routers, the first time you press the buttons on the side, they don't take effect, and you have to press them a second time. Never really figured out or worked out why. Sometimes you press them and it works the first time, but if you experience that problem, it's it's probably not you, it's the router. So I'm just going to wait until my wireless analyzer shows that both of them are transmitting, which it does now, and I'm going to unplug the network cable from the back of the mesh device, and I may as well also unplug it from the back of the router. Did forget to check what the topology looked like. Yep, which does indeed show that we've got the router, the repeater, which at that point was wired in, and then my performance testing laptop. And I think the solid line there indicates that that's connected using a network cable. This light's gone out, which presumably means it's busy reconfiguring its topology, and will hopefully connect through wireless rather than failing to connect at all. Power light flashed. And we're back in business again. And it now shows the dotted line connecting to the mesh node, which means that it's connected, this router knows that this is connected via Wi-Fi rather than a hardwired network cable. Yes, I'm on wireless repeated mesh node to my performance testing laptop, and let's see what speed I get. .443 megabit down. And quite bizarrely, 763 megabits per second up. Let's do a couple more tests of that. I will also change the orientation of that so it's facing the laptop more, which has increased it. It's gone up to 660 megabits per second download. And 711 megabits per second upload. I'll just do a couple more tests. So that's gone a whole lot lower. That's 200 megabit down, and still 600 megabits per second upload. Let's do another one. That is the trouble with wireless. It might be convenient, but it's incredibly variable and unreliable. That test has gone back up to the slightly higher speed of 418 megabit download, and we're still 600 megabits per second upload. Doing another test, 200 megabit. It's ridiculous. This isn't actually an ideal test because we're right next to this router, and the test laptop is only about 1.5 meters away from this mesh node. So what I will do next is another test where we're going to be going through probably an external wall and then a plasterboard wall, and we'll see what performance we get out of that. So we'll have this node, main one here, which will then go through an open door, then through an external wall, and then through a plasterboard or plywood wall, and we'll see what speed we get on the test laptop. So I'll be back with you in a moment. Well, that's definitely a disappointing speed. Testing, say, BT whole homes over that same distance, I'd get way more than 100 megabits per second out of them. Be more in the region of 200 to 300 megabits per second. It is wireless, so let's do the good old switch it off, switch it on again. That's more like it. Good old Wi-Fi. Disconnect, reconnect. Solves quite a lot of speed issues most of the time. So that's more like what I would expect there. 438 megabits per second down, 219 on the upload. Let's do a couple more tests and see. So 500 on the download, 400 on the upload, and we'll do a final test. As always with wireless, it's quite variable, but it's all within the same kind of ballpark. What I will do now is go and switch off the mesh node, and we'll do one more test just to make sure that the original less than 100 megabit speed is really what we expect without that repeater or the mesh node in the way. Mesh node is now off. I suspect it will take a while to start the test as it reconnects to the other access point, which it has done fairly quickly, but you can see actually just how bad it is going all the way through all of those walls to the main router. So the mesh node in this instance does make a big difference to performance. If this video has already been helpful, it would be helpful to me if you wouldn't mind subscribing to my YouTube channel. You don't need to have the video notifications on, but the subscriber numbers really do help. If you stay tuned, I will have a go at the MPro mobile app and see what functions that provides and what settings you get and what it looks like, and also have a look at the web interface of this device as well. As is the trend with so much stuff these days, it doesn't give you a URL to download anything, it gives you a QR code. Well, it's detected the word App Store, I think, and rather than, I don't know, what's that asking me for? Okay, why has it put brackets around App Store and not done anything useful? Hey, that's more like it. So I've loaded up the MPro Mesh app, and let's click Start. I'll tell you what will be the problem is I'm not on the correct wireless network. That's more like it. Oh, need more details though. So we've now got the app open, got the ability to go into the router. Now see, that just gives you, if you press on that, it tells you the status. If you press on the words, it does something different. So clicking on the icon gives you a legend of what that means. Clicking on the router itself gives you more details. Gives you the WAN status of it, and an easy reboot button. I might do that in a minute just to see whether it asks you to confirm it first. You can press the little network icon at the top and it gives you the mesh topology. We can press on the, well, interesting they call it repeater there, but the mesh device. If you press on the, again, the icon on the left, it gives you a legend of what the icons mean. So this has got good connectivity, which you'd hope so, because it's sitting less than half a metre in front of the other router. And you can go into it, it tells you the LAN status. It again has also got a reboot button at the bottom and tells you the firmware version as well. Connected devices looks very much, well, it just changes the tab that you're on there actually. Wi-Fi is the wireless settings, also lets you turn on the guest wireless from there. Parental controls has got to be administering the main router. And account lets you log out of, I guess, this router to then administer a different one. So what's interesting is I suspect the MPro app would work with this router without needing one of the mesh nodes. So if you wanted the ability to easily switch off and on your guest network, or see what devices are connected, or do the parental controls, or as we can see in here, pause the internet access on certain devices, then this app might be quite good for you. I've just paused the internet on my speed testing laptop, and let's see, I am not able to load a web page. And then if I unpause the internet, that's not good. Am I going to be stuck with no internet? Whoops. Devices. If we go into that icon, legend, yeah, internet is paused, but I'm not sure why that failed when I went to unpause it. There you go, it worked that time. I now refresh the web page on my speed test laptop, it's now working. So yeah, that's quite a good app to administer devices if you're a parent and you want to turn off and on access on devices around the house. And that's all there really is to this app. And I'm interested, if I go into the main router and tell it to reboot, it does come up with a confirmation, which is at least nice. So there we go. I will have a quick look at the web interface of the mesh node and see whether it's worth making an additional bit of the video about. Maybe that you can't really do a lot in it, but let's have a look. So it's not worth making a full video on, but the web interface looks like the normal, well, I think what they call Opal firmware web interface of the Zyxel routers, except for if you click on connectivity, it says, do you want to redirect to the controller's web page, and then it sends you back to your main router. If you click on Wi-Fi settings, it will let you change Wi-Fi, but I'm not sure whether it changes across all of the devices. You can set its LAN IP address. You can load certificates onto it, which is not much use unless you're doing TR069, where the router reaches out to a secure web page. It does have a log screen, which gives you details about devices associating and disassociating, and their rates, it looks like. There's a WLAN station monitor, which is also available on the main router as well, which tells you the signal strengths of each device that's connected. And that is about it. It's then got just the basic diagnostic stuff to do with pinging, backing up the config, restoring the config, and whether you're allowed to remotely administer the device. So yeah, hopefully that video has been very helpful to you. If it has, it would be really helpful to me if you wouldn't mind subscribing to my YouTube channel. You don't need to have video notifications switched on, but the subscriber numbers really do help. Thanks very much.